Hello, and welcome to the Tuning In podcast. I'm Dana Evans, your inner voice and emotional support coach. In this podcast, we explore the deep wisdom that lives in our bodies, emotions, and inner voice. Together, we'll shed the layers that no longer serve us, creating space to tap into the flow of life and experience true ease. So, are you ready to join me? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. This week, we are going to continue the theme of spring cleaning, but we're going to take it a little bit deeper into the body. If you listened to last week's episode 151, you'll find a full guide and a link to a spring cleaning post that really helps you take spring cleaning to a new level. We explore ways to clean your home, to clean your energy, to dust off the emotions from the winter, and to really give yourself a fresh slate. And to take that a little bit further, we're going to talk about the key organ in the body that is associated with the spring and that is essential for cleaning and clearing both toxins within your body as well as processing and digesting emotions. So let's dive in. This key organ is, drumroll please, your liver. Our friendly liver, which lives behind your lower right ribs. So let's just take a moment together to locate the liver. This is something that is so valuable whenever we're doing energetic or emotional work. We're working with the body, right? The mind is not in charge of processing emotions. The body is in charge of processing emotions. And the best way to help anchor into the body is by physically touching it, to bring our physical connection and awareness to our body. So if we're going to talk about the liver, I want you to feel and sense where the liver is. The liver is actually quite large and takes up a large area behind your right ribs. So take your right hand and just palpate a little. Find the lower part of your sternum. So that's that really soft spot underneath the breastbone. And so there's this little soft, doughy spot. And then palpate that and you'll find the edge of your rib cage. So gently palpate from the edge of the rib cage, go down and follow the line of the rib cage all the way down and to the right. And this might feel weird, okay? If you're not used to touching your body and if you're not used to kind of palpating and going deep into your tissue, this may feel very uncomfortable. In fact, your tissue may push back. At first, it might not feel safe. So just acknowledge and recognize like this is new and be gentle. So do that again. So find that soft tissue, right, at the lower part of your breastbone. It's right at the top. It's above your belly button and right where the breastbone ends. And then find the edge of your right rib cage. And then again, with your fingertips, breathe. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm feeling things. We're going to talk about this, but liver processes a lot of emotion, including anger. So even with this gentle palpating, you might feel things. I'm doing some anger processing on my own right now, and so I'm not surprised that this is triggering. So take a few breaths, breathe. Yep. And just let yourself know, like, this is safe. I'm here to heal. I'm not here to harm, right? I'm here to heal and support and be a witness to the body. So edge of the rib cage, gently palpate all the way down and follow the line of the ribs. And then a little bit over to the right. Ooh, that might feel a little weird, a little sensitive. And then just pause. And then take your whole right hand and rest it basically so the thumb edge is resting like on the rib cage. The middle finger center of your palm is resting on the edge of the rib cage. And then the pinky finger is resting just below. And gently pressure. I put my left hand on top of my right and gently pressure into that area and breathe into your hand. Inhale. Good. And then exhale. Yeah. And just sense. So the liver is operating all along this area. And when was the last time, if ever, that you spent a moment with your liver? You know? It's here. It's such an amazing organ. So today we're going to talk about it. I'll have one more practice that we'll do together, and then I'll send you a video where I learned this from. And we're just going to go into liver wisdom and liver energy and see what that brings up for you. So in a rare form, I took a bunch of notes and have prepared this in notes, and I'm going to transfer the notes into a Substack blog post because sometimes, and I'll attach this podcast episode to it, sometimes it's easier to read and to process information visually versus verbally. So I'm going to give you the access to both of those. And to find my Substack, you just go to Dana Evans, so DANAEVANS, danaevans.substack.com. And that will give you the vitamin D newsletter. And this Substack is where I do more in-depth articles, in-depth explorations, evergreen content that I want to be accessible and for me and others to be able to reference regularly. So it's a little bit different than my newsletter, which is more like musings and information about, offers that I have and ways to work with me. And it's more of a storytelling platform, my like traditional vitamin D newsletter. And then we have the vitamin D Substack, which is more of a resource guide for you. So danaevans.substack.com, that is where the text version will be linked for this episode. And I'll also tag in the podcast so that you have access in multiple ways. How fun is that? Also, on that note, before I go any further, there is a new thing that you'll see in the show notes. So if you go into the show notes for this episode and you scroll down to the bottom, there will be a link that says text this episode. And if you click that from your phone, it will open up your messaging app. Y'all, it's going to open up your messaging app and you can send me a text message. If you liked the episode, or if you have a question about one of the resources that I talked about, or if you can't find a link, or if you're like, hey, can you email me this? Literally just send me your email in the text message and I'll send you these resources. This is so exciting. And even if you're like, I don't really care about any of this, if you feel ever so inspired, if you will just send me a message to test it out, because I don't know exactly how it works, I would just adore you and be so, so grateful. So this is a new feature. I want to try it out and I think it's really exciting and it makes it so easy for you to just like send a message. How cool is that? So those are our logistics. All right. Liver, our dear friend liver. So here's what we need to know about liver. The liver is one of the few organs in the body that can actually heal and regenerate itself. I would also like to caveat, I am not a stats science-minded, evidence-based person. Those things are hard for me. I have tried to pull information and I've taken information that I know and I've done some extra research to make sure I'm not giving incorrect information. And please, if I'm giving you a stat like I'm about to, please don't take that as fact. You can check that yourself. I'm just remembering things that I read and learned over the years. I've been learning about the liver for like 10 years through different modalities. What I am calling this is like liver wisdom. I'm sharing the wisdom and the energetics behind the liver. I'm not really here to share liver science. Okay. So let me just caveat that. I think you know me by now and understand that. That's like what you get from me versus what you don't. But I do remember reading that I think up to 25% of the liver can like regrow and regenerate. And that just shows us how freaking cool this organ is. And more than that, how much this organ and our body really deeply want to heal and regulate. To me, it makes me think of like a lizard. We have lots of lizards here in Santa Fe. They're so cute. And a lizard, if I'm correct, I think they can, get part of their tail bitten off and the tail will regrow. And our bodies deeply are programmed to heal. They want to heal and grow. Like, come fight me on this. Don't fight me on this. I'm so adamant about that. And our bodies need our support and the right environments to help it do that. And we have quite a bit of say in that. And so this conversation about the liver is also a conversation of like, how can we support ourselves in the spring, in this season, like seasonally, what are the textures and fabrics and nuances of life that is calling us forward that will support this transition in our bodies? I talked about that in episode 151 through like a physical environment. And now we're going to talk about it through the body environment. So other things that the liver is responsible for: digesting emotions. Okay. It's responsible for detoxifying the blood. It also processes and filters substances. Think caffeine, alcohol, and pharmaceutical drugs. So any types of substances that go through your body are processed and filtered through the liver. And I quite literally think of the liver as a giant filter. And just like we have an air filter, and I get the updated filters sent to me every 3 months, auto send. And when I take the old filters out, guess what? They're full of gunk. Same with my vacuum cleaner. Okay, I vacuum the house a lot, and then it has a filter that needs to be washed about once a month, and it's full. Same with our dishwasher filter. Y'all, we have so many filters in our house that I'm constantly cleaning. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so annoying. And yet the air filter cleans the air in the house, right? It takes in the dirty air, it puts out clean air. The dishwasher takes in dirty dishes and dirty water, it puts out clean dishes. The vacuum, it just picks up dirty stuff, right? If I don't clean those filters, what happens? Well, the vessel becomes less effective. The vacuum cannot suck as well if the filter is clogged. So it will kind of vacuum, but it won't get as many things. It won't get as fine of particles because the filter's clogged. The dishwasher, when that filter's clogged, it's disgusting. I just cleaned it last weekend. It's covered in gunk. And then the dishes are a little cloudier, like they don't get as clean. And our air filter, when that doesn't get replaced, right, the air in our house isn't as clear. And our liver is the same freaking way. So it is a filter. And if we don't support and clean and clear our liver, then it can't process emotions as well. It can't detoxify the blood as well. It can't digest and break down things like caffeine and alcohol and drugs and substances. I mean, hopefully you're not like overloading your system with that anyway. But if you are, that's going to wear the liver down. And that's the other part of it is the more we're ingesting, the more work the liver has to do. So if you're in a really stressful time, if you have a lot of anger that you're dealing with externally, whether it's someone else's anger or your own, if you are consuming a lot of alcohol or drugs or substances or even just a lot of Advil, right? Like that is going to bog down the liver, okay? And, you know, other pollutants in our environment, like the liver is processing everything. And so things will get bogged down and you'll end up with a sluggish or stagnant liver, which we'll talk about supporting here. So in traditional Chinese medicine, I think this is so fascinating. Every organ is associated with another body part, okay? So they call it a sense organ. So the liver is linked with the eyes. So if you're having eye issues, it's also a good sign to look inward for liver issues. So if you're having, you know, really itchy red eyes, or if you feel like you're not seeing clearly, or if you're feeling like you have like a bunch of floaties in your eyes, things like that are a good sign that your liver may be needing support. And the liver is also associated with your skin, okay? So if you see a lot of skin flare-ups, now again, skin, definitely externally, it's our biggest organ, and it's a huge processor and filter of things going into the body. And it's a lot of times the first sign of something out of balance internally, because your skin is a really good indicator of like something's wrong. So skin can be associated with gut issues as well and other things. But from a liver perspective, if we're seeing a lot of redness, a lot of flare-ups, dermatitis, Like when I was dealing with my dermatitis, I really had to look at my liver as well. That's a whole separate episode that I've been meaning to record of how I healed my dermatitis. Stay tuned. But your skin is going to really show you what's going on internally. So redness, acne, and dermatitis, dry skin, itchy, just inflamed. And the part about the acne is associated because the liver is also tasked with processing hormones and specifically removing excess estrogen. So it can be linked to other estrogen and hormone related issues. Again, now we're getting a little too far into the science for me to be able to speak on this, but I just wanted you to know that that is another function. And then, of course, it's looking at emotional balance as well. So picture like from a movie, someone who overdrinks, is angry, has bloodshot eyes, ruddy skin, and whose face gets like beet red when they have an angry outburst. Like, can you picture that person? That's the definition of someone with liver imbalance. And the beauty of this is the liver wants to frickin' heal, and it can with the right support. I just want to take this a little bit further when it comes to emotions. Some of the specific emotional imbalances that you'll see if it's a liver issue is envy, judgment, resentment, obviously anger, frustration, hate, right? Rage. These are things that we don't like to speak of, but that is liver speaking. So on the opposite side, with a balanced liver, emotional states will show up as contentment, surrender, confidence, courage, and a balanced sense of willpower. So you can see how those can kind of balance each other out. So we've seen like what an out of balance liver looks like, how it can manifest in physical symptoms in the body and emotional symptoms. So now let's talk about, okay, if my liver is angry, if it's flared up, if it's bogged down, if I have a sluggish liver, basically if it's not able to do its job fully, well, what the heck am I supposed to do? And here's the beauty. Different organs are also in Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is another study that I've gone into, and it's an Eastern medicine like traditional Chinese medicine, but it's its own deep science. Ayurveda, the science of life, is how you break that down. And the liver is associated with what is called the pitta energy, which is fire. So liver is fiery, right? It does have anger, it does have bursts, but that other side of fire is like, the willpower and the courage and confidence, right? Think like Leo energy in astrology. I'm like totally merging systems with you. So thank you. If you're still with me, great job. If you're following along, I'm so impressed. If not, read the post because it'll probably be easier to digest for you. But these organs also have times. This is so cool. This is in Chinese medicine and in Ayurveda. There's different times for different organs. And if you Google traditional Chinese organ body clock, I'm going to pull this up and read this specifically to you. The liver is around 2 a.m. Okay. So basically from when we wake up to when we go to bed, every organ in the body has its own time chunk where it is being supported and processed. And it's so powerful to look at what's happening to you during these times of day and notice what organ it's associated with. For example, if you're waking up between 1 and 3 a.m. frequently, well, 1, that is also when our cortisol spikes. And 2, that is liver time. So that is a good indicator that your liver is needing support. If you're waking up between 3 and 5 a.m., that is your lung time. And lung is associated with sadness and grief. Like I could go on and on. So it's a really good time. So liver has timing, right, during the day. And that's with traditional Chinese medicine. And then it's a pitta organ in Ayurveda. And in Ayurveda, the different doshas, right? So we have Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. They have times of day where they're most effective. Pitta is 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So again, we're overlapping here with Pitta energy, the traditional Chinese medicine, and liver time, right? So this is not a perfect science, but these are correlated. So between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. is when we have the most fire in our bodies. Similarly, between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. I don't know if you've ever noticed this. This is a slight tangent. But for me, if I don't get to bed by 10, it's almost like I get this second little rush of energy. And then it's kind of hard for me to wind down. But if you wind down between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m., which is kapha time, which is like water, earth, slow, steady. If you wind down then, you're able to sleep during the pitta time, and that fire can be used to help process and digest food and emotions from the day. You're also then able to sleep better because you don't have that fire that's keeping you up. And then when you eat your big meal between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., you've got, again, that fire to help digest. Isn't this interesting? I mean, it's so interesting. So then we have seasons for different organs. And to bring this all back, you thought I got lost. I did not. The season for liver is spring. So this is why we're talking about the liver. It is springtime. And what the liver needs in the spring is release, is cleansing, is clearing, is support, because it's worked so hard over the winter to process, more food, right? To process denser emotions. Like a lot happens during the winter and it's a more stagnant time. And so in the spring, just like we need to dust off our shelves and clean out our house, our body needs something similar, and the liver in particular needs that support. So why and what do we need to know about the liver and how to support it? Well, liver loves bitter. I learned that phrase 10, 12 years ago in my very first Ayurvedic cleanse that I participated in. And I later was trained by the woman who led those. And I later then became the person to lead those cleanses. And liver loves bitter. It's just this nice little rhythmic thing to remember. Liver loves bitter. What doesn't love bitter? The American palate. So that might not feel comfortable for you at first. But these bitter medicinal flavors and herbs really help balance the liver. Things that I love for this, simply bitter spring greens. And look at that. A lot of the spring greens are naturally going to be more bitter and astringent. And guess what? Those support the liver. Hello, nature and body going in harmony. Of course they do. So buying what's in season, think asparagus, kale, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, dandelion greens, and dandelion frickin' everything is your liver's best friend. Dandelion root, burdock root, milk thistle, nettle, all of these are really supportive herbs for your liver, and they're all available in the spring. They're also all in root beer flavors. So if you find like a natural root beer, you'll see a lot of those in there, which is really crazy. Like the origin of root beer, not like a can of AW root beer, that is not going to help you at all. Certainly not going to help your liver. But like the original, the OG root beer was literally roots, right? Brewed together, and they're liver supporting roots. So speaking of that, I absolutely love, and I'm going to put all of these links in here, so don't worry, Organic Olivia. It's a company that I love to use. She's trained in traditional Chinese medicine, and she has all these tonics and herbs and teas. And one that she has is called liver juice. Hey, so simple, right? And guess what's in it? We have some beautiful herbs like burdock root, milk thistle, and dandelion, and also some that I don't know the names of, so I'm not going to tell you. But if you go to Organic Olivia's website, which I'll link, you can scroll down to the bottom and she tells you about each herb. Like there's an in-depth explanation for the herb and why it's in the tincture. And all I do is in the morning, I rinse my mouth with salt water. This is all like very Ayurvedic things. So I do a tongue scraping because again, in the spring and as you start to do liver support, your body wants to detoxify. So like naturally your body's already wanting this and we're just supporting it during our liver focus. So when your body's detoxifying, where does it come out? Well, through urine, through bowel movements, through our feet, through our sweat, through our eyes, ears, and mouth. Through all of our vessels, right? We're excreting. It's like we're wringing out the grossness from the winter. And if you have not tongue scraped, this is not the same as brushing your tongue. I mean a straight up tongue scraper. Of all the practices I do, of all the practices I have learned over the years, the only one that I have never given up is tongue scraping. Other practices I go in and out of, I shift them up. You will not find me without my tongue scraper. Everywhere I go, my tongue scraper goes. Every morning I scrape my tongue because once you start doing it, you're like, how could I possibly swallow all that stuff back into my body after a night of detoxing? So again, if you think about this traditional Chinese medicine organ clock, your organs are getting detoxed. They're getting cleaned and cleansed. Well, all day. But like if you think at the night, it's like we have gallbladder and liver and the lungs and the intestines and the stomach and the spleen and the heart. Like everything's going through its process. And when we're sleeping and at night and not ingesting, right, there's a lot more space for the body to do a deeper level of cleaning. And, you might sweat at night or you might wake up and our breath smells. Well, why does our breath smell? Because all of this frickin' bacteria and stuff from the body is trying to move out. And one of the pathways is through the mouth, and it literally shows up as a coating on your tongue. Okay? So if you wake up in the morning, go to the mirror, stick your tongue out, you'll most likely see a white coating. That's bacteria and detox stuff. It's like tongue poop. It's like tongue poop, okay? I don't want to swallow that. I really don't. So the very first thing I do in the morning is I get up, I go straight to my sink, and I scrape my tongue. And I scrape it gently with a copper scraper until the white coating is clear. Then I rinse my mouth with salt water to get rid of anything else. Then I do warm water with a little bit of Redmond sea salt and lemon and liver juice, especially in the spring. I put a dropper full of the liver juice and I drink that. Gives my liver a chance to wake up. And even if you didn't add lemon, warm water and a little salt is going to be really supportive. It's just the warmth of the liquid. And then lemon supposedly is going to help take things a little further. And then the liver juice is going to really bring it all together. So simple. And then I'll have, whatever else I have, athletic greens, coffee, tea, whatever I end up having, I'll have after that. So I'm so passionate about this. This is why we're going so far deep into this. Who knew? So those are things the liver loves. The other things liver loves, in addition to bitter, things that support the liver are things that are going to be a little sweet and cooling. And I say sweet, I'm not saying ice cream is good for the liver. Think about a mint tea, right? That's going to be a little sweeter on the palate. We want the energy of the food to be a little sweeter versus, let me give you contrast, versus spicy and pungent foods. So eating a bunch of kimchi or a spicy dish with chili crisp, that's aggravating because creates like attracts like. So if I'm eating a lot of hot, spicy foods, when I have an aggravated liver, it's going to increase the heat, increase the fire, increase the aggravation. I'm wanting to cool and soften and settle the liver. So having dandelion root tea, my favorite is Dandy Blend. Dandy Blend is the best. It is a great coffee replacement if you're wanting a break from coffee. It's like a powdered dandelion powder with burdock root and chicory. And it's just a strong, bitter flavor, which mimics coffee and can be easily blended with, cream and maple syrup to make a little frothy beverage. So good. So that would be a really good thing if you're wanting to remove coffee, because liver likes coffee, but not in that way. So coffee coming in through the mouth can be aggravating to liver, but coffee coming through an enema from the other end is really supportive because the caffeine activates the liver and it helps it release. So if you really want to go far in doing a cleanse, which I'm going to talk about in a second, know that a coffee enema is such a good thing for our livers. I don't really do them. It's just a lot of work for me. I have done it in the past, but I just wanted to like plant that seed in case that's something that you enjoy. We also have slow movements. So if liver is fire, right, and aggravation and anger, we want to think of balancing to counterbalance that. If it's out of balance, that means that there's too much heat, there's too much fire. So what do? Think like if you want to take a bath, add mint leaves to your bath. Think about having peppermint essential oil that you roll on your liver, like on that lower part, like do a little oil roll on that's cooling. Think about cucumbers. Think about raw vegetables, like raw spring vegetables can be really supportive, oh my gosh, for the liver. And oil massage. So this is an Ayurvedic practice. I'll link to an Ayurvedic article that kind of goes over some of these things. But take a sesame oil, which is very soothing and cooling for the liver. And then you just do this like self-body massage. And then you could take a shower or a bath. And that's really soothing for your whole freaking nervous system. Also, massaging a little sesame oil with a couple drops of peppermint into your feet. And even if you wanted onto the crown of your head and then putting socks on and going to sleep, that's going to be really soothing for the liver. Then we're going to quickly share that you can do an Ayurvedic Khichdi cleanse. Again, I'll link to this if you want to read about it. If you want more information about it, text me. I have some guides that I've created over the years. But this is a simple mono diet paired with physical and energetic practices that help soothe the body and lessens the toxic load, both of the substances you're putting into your body and your emotional toxic load, because you're taking deep care of yourself. So it gives the liver space to like release the old stuff in there. And if you feel inspired after you do the Ayurvedic cleanse, you could do a little liver flush. And then you would pair something like that with a liver meditation. Guess what? I have a liver meditation. This is how much I love the liver. I have a liver meditation that I will send you if you text me through the link below that says text message. I will send you the liver meditation. And then also doing liver tapping. So we can do that together for a second. Find your liver, again, the lower right ribs. I like to use both hands and I just like to tap my liver and breathe. If it's feeling really stagnant, you can gently just use the front knuckles, like the first knuckles of your first 4 fingers. It's like you're knocking, a gentle knock. You can just knock on the liver and you can just say like, I'm here for you. You don't need to carry this anger and I'm here to support you in any way possible. And that just caused me to burp. Excuse me. This is the body processing emotion. It doesn't take much. The liver's so wise and so attuned. Finally, I'll put a link to a video in this, but you can do liver pressure point. And it can be as simple as what we just did at the beginning, where again, you can take your hands, the side of the liver. So start right at the base of the sternum above the belly button, find the right ribs and just gently exhale. First, you would walk your fingers along that edge. And then you can press a little bit gently. Listen to your body and you press and gently get your fingers ever so slightly underneath the ribcage. And as you do that, you can hold a point if it feels intense. Just gently hold it and say, I don't need to carry this anger. I don't need to carry this emotion. I'm here to process. I'm here to release. And then breathe. Just see what comes up. Doesn't take much. And so with that is a deep dive into the liver. We have covered what the liver does, what it supports and processes, how imbalances show up in the body, how a balanced liver shows up in the body. And again, I'll just reinforce that. Like when you're doing a cleanse and a liver cleanse and when you're supporting your liver, you'll notice your skin starts to clear up. Red splotches start to go away. Your eyes will get really clear and literally you'll start to feel like you can see more clearly. This happens all the time when I do emotional work with people. It's like, whoa, I feel like I can see clearer. That's real because the liver and the connection between the liver and the eyes. So we talked about what it looks like in balance versus out of balance. And we've talked about simple ways to support the liver, like just palpating it, doing a liver meditation, just holding it, And then bigger ways to support the liver, like doing a cleanse, and then daily ways to support it, like having those liver drops. I cannot tell you how much I recommend those liver drops. They're linked in this episode notes. They are the best. I think they are so helpful. And then, we talked about symptoms of like detox of the liver, right? You might get heightened anger at first, but know that like you're choosing to support it and move through. Definitely scrape your tongue, like definitely shake off the energy, definitely breathe and remind yourself that you're here to heal. And remember that the liver wants to release. It wants to make space so it can continue to process and do its job so well. It's such an amazing organ. We love you, liver. We love you, liver. We love you, liver. And I hope that you take at least one of these nuggets and are able to carry it with you into this spring and let that support and facilitate all of the other ways that you are clearing and making space this spring, physically, emotionally, energetically, and definitely in our organs. So with that, feel free to send me the text message through the link in the show notes. Of course, you can always message me on Instagram at Dana_Evans. And stay tuned because we have all these other beautiful things going on, which I talked about last week. Oh my gosh, we have the Emotional Edit audio course, which is coming out. I have the special right now for one slot left for one-to-one text support with me. Or I have a special for $333. You can do a one-to-one emotional clearing session with me as well. And then, of course, we have our Substack with all the blog posts. So with that, thank you as always for listening. This was a deep dive into the liver, and I know that there's something in here that is going to support you. So until next week, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Tuning In podcast. If you loved this episode, please rate and review it or share it with a friend. If you want to go deeper into the realm of emotions and learn the language of your body, check out my audio course, Emotions Decoded, at alignful.com/audio. As always, you can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans. See you next week.